har 88 problem, men Vita Pillret är inte ett av dem.
Vita Pillret.
Podden Vita Pillret som drivs av Nordisk alternativhöger.
Jag käkar piller.
Podden Vita Pillret.
Den nordiska så kallade alternativhöger.
PR-byrå för vit maktmiljön.
Nordisk alternativhöger.
Nej, jag knappar samma piller som jag har gjort hela tiden.
Alternativhögern.
Etniskt ren kulturarbetare.
Episod 88 är här. Vi har fin besök. Jag kommer direkt att gå över till engelska av den anledningen. We are joined here, me, Daniel, and Hugin by the one and only Richard Spencer. Sorry, Daniel, you were going to do the introduction here, so I flubbed it already.
Yes, you did. Anyways, we are joined by Richard Spencer, president of the National Policy Institute. He has a new live stream, the Expensive Group, and the Radix channel on YouTube. Make sure to follow that. And, well, the guy who made the alt-right term popular, basically. So, welcome, Richard.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here. And I will attempt a little bit of Swedish. Hey.
Awesome. Wow, that was...
Fantastic.
That's the low, right?
Spot on.
Okay.
So how does that work with the Swedish ladies? Do they fall for it immediately, or
all I need is the mustache? That's all. I don't. No words are necessary, really.
So what's the deal with the mustache? It's coming back.
Yeah. I think it's back. I've been a bit schizophrenic about the mustache, but I think it should return and remain. So what do you guys think?
I don't know. The MQ finally has an answer. I feel comfortable.
Yeah, I think here in Sweden at least, a full-grown beard is more in the society than a single mustache, I think.
I like to do things against the grain. Yeah, I would say this in the United States, the mustache became verboten almost. It was if you had a mustache, that meant you were a police officer, a highway patrolman, or a pornography actor from the 1970s. that was basically the line. But a lot of hipsters would almost grow a mustache ironically, like, so many Gen X and millennials, like everything's in quotes. Look at my mustache, like. And I'm wearing my like vintage Atari T-shirt, and I'm, hanging out at a coffee shop. Like their entire existence is like ironic. But this is a non-ironic mustache. This is a mustache of sincerity.
Yeah, it's a pretty much bugman thing, or has been at least. But it's
until
good
now.
Yeah, it's good. You're reclaiming it. As you should.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're reclaiming it from the Bugman and the porn actors for the alt-right. Very good, Richard.
That might be the most important meta-political question that we face in these trying times.
Right. I'm just living. Yeah, I'm against time, living against the grain.
You're a mustache.
Radical.
You're a mustache against time.
Yeah, a mustache against time. That will be the second volume of my autobiography. That will be the title. A mustache against time.
Don't forget to thank me.
Mustache against the modern world.
Yeah, exactly. Mustache against the modern world.
Ride the mustache. Or wait,
yeah. Mustache as a word.
Oh my God. That was really disgusting, Chris. But anyways, maybe let's be a little bit serious here.
Okay.
We were.
Well, enough about the mustache.
The MQ is not a joke.
But anyways, what have you been up to lately, Richard? I know you've been doing this very popular live stream, the Expensive Group.
Yeah. Well, it's something that we had before. We had a great podcast with Don Camillo and Gregory Conti and myself and some friends would join us as well. And once I had to again, 2018 was a very bad year. I don't need to go into it. I would rather not. But I just had to relocate, get everything in my life, on the right track. And that is happening. And so I left the DC area. I'm now in undisclosed locations in the Pacific Northwest and Midwest. And I kind of like it. We don't have a big footprint right now in the sense of this is where journalists can come and we can all meet up. I think something like that is great and necessary, but it's not the time right now. The attacks have come fast and furious, and we've been massively deplatformed. And I just think we need to regroup strategically. And I certainly do personally, and that it's happening. But anyway, so we had a great podcast, and those are still up there. You can find those on Spreaker. And Don Camillo will be joining us. He's making all these lame excuses, but hopefully we can bully side him into rejoining the podcast. Maybe we'll bully side him without actually killing him. But so that he can join the live stream. But he's there. And then Craig, who you guys might recognize, is also kind of the host. And we have new people each week. Ed Dutton is going to join us over the weekend. And Ed and I will be working together in a greater capacity coming up. So I'm just basically, I had to get my life together. And also we just, again, suffered attacks like I have never seen in terms of just being persona non grata across almost every platform outside of my Twitter feed. And even YouTube is a big problem. I get all of these strikes. I will do some of the most academic, you could say, arcane discussions about geopolitics and foreign policy, et cetera. And these will be limited by YouTube and so on. And so we basically have to, as a movement, come up with solutions to these problems, particularly the payment processor one, in order for us to move forward, or otherwise we can't. And I really don't, I'm kind of sick of even hearing this, although I hear it less and less of, we just need to basically hide and we'll just, red people on 4chan, red pill people on 4chan or something. I find that nonsensical. We have to be a serious movement. And the establishment does not want that to happen, and they have made it exceedingly difficult.
I totally agree. Sorry for interrupting, but yeah, obviously we need to be public and we need to be out there and visible. And I've also been, as you know, subjected to some serious deplatforming. Stripe, even my personal bank, and
you had your company share. I mean, I've never heard of this. Stock shares confiscated. I mean, that's something. That's a new level of shit. Basically,
it's like almost Soviet level, but still, really? I mean, obviously the forces of Global Homo are cracking down on us with this deplatforming bullshit and other forms of a kind of feminine, soft, and overall very gay form of repression. Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's a nuisance, but that's all. I'm not personally affected, really. I mean, when they come and try to kill us in our sleep, that's when I will start to get concerned. But before then, I just view this as evidence that we're on the right track, because obviously we expect to meet resistance eventually, and if this is all they've got, they don't stand a chance, because
Daniel, to be honest, I think your snoring will scare them away. So I think you're covered.
I can imagine that. Yeah.
No, you can't.
Oh, I can't. Did you ever sleep over at the loft? I luckily sequestered myself in my room.
Well, you
so
tried
it's
to
not to hear
you
the.
tried to invite me, but I politely declined.
Oh, okay.
I stayed at Greg's place.
Very disturbing.
Oh, okay. Greg's place, I say, yeah.
So
I want to make it perfectly clear. I'm not talking about Greg Johnson. I'm talking about the Greg content.
Nice. There we go again. So let me ask you, Richard. I mean, you have dabbled in every medium, newspaper, books. Obviously, you've been on TV, mass media, etc. And now you're on YouTube. So maybe it's an obvious question, but which medium do you find most interesting and fascinating? Which medium do you think will be the future for us to get our message across?
Well, I think something like YouTube, and I do like the medium of live streaming. I always loved podcasting, and I think podcasting is increasingly becoming a dead medium. And again, that's neither here nor there. Things come, things go. But the idea of the podcast, I think, is becoming a lot less relevant. And now it is about doing something live, even if it's just, a still image of me here talking before a painting of a buffalo, or when I'm in my other apartment before a bookshelf or whatever. Even an image that boring is something, and it adds a new level to the medium. YouTube is the biggest platform. The degree, the in some ways frightening degree to which young people are watching YouTube as opposed to TV, and certainly as opposed to reading, is remarkable. And I find myself doing this. I in a way read more by listening now, and so we need to recognize where things are headed. And I do think that this is a great medium. I like the live stream format in the sense that we get to have a free flow of ideas. We get to tell jokes. We get to have fun. But also, when I feel like when I'm not constrained by writing an essay or giving a direct answer to a journalist or something, we can get to new levels, and we can kind of go places where we didn't even plan to go. And I've noticed that when I have someone who I can converse with. So I think this is a great medium. The live stream is, again, something new and interesting and good. But I think also the video essay and things like that. I mean, I think clearly that's where things are headed. And the amount of views that I would get, I mean, I noticed this early on in the sense of, if I wanted to communicate to people, it was better for me to break up an essay into a number of tweets, because within an hour, 10,000, 20,000 people have read that those tweets, as opposed to maybe a few hundred or a few thousand on a website. And it's just an immediate way of getting the message out there. And I think the same thing is with YouTube. We have to go direct to people. And this is but again, when we go onto these platforms, we risk deplatforming. And so it's our enemies in the establishment recognize this, and I don't know if this weird situation is going to just last for the next, say, 10 years, where there's all of this ambiguity. We don't know what is permitted and what's not permitted. Why is this video taken down? Why is this video still up? And we just live in this kind of limbo stage. I don't know if this is going to last for another 10 years, or whether they're going to really make a firm regulation either way, and basically say you're all off or you're all on, which would be great. In a way, kicking us all off consistently would be good, in the sense that we would, more avidly, create an independent platform for ourselves. But yeah, clearly things like video, the idea of an essay on video, live stream responses to things, conversations. I mean, clearly this is the way things are going. The mass media was great when it worked, and then it was awful when it didn't. So, It is what it is. You're playing a dangerous game, and you have to go into it knowing that. And also, you have to go into it knowing, all right, if they say something bad about me or they make me look bad, I'm gonna walk it off, as we say in American football when you get a concussion. Walk it off, kid. That's at least what they told me. Maybe that's why I think the way I do. Yeah, if something bad happens, just shrug it off, keep going forward, use the media in a smart way. But again, in terms of really communicating our ideas, there's the flash of the media, but then there's the depth of a medium like a live stream. So I think people kind of know who we are now. It's time that we really invest in stuff like this. And as much as I like books and books have influenced me, and Arctos is a great success with great things, let's just be honest. The book is never going to die as a medium. There's no question. But I think the book is almost becoming a little like an oil painting or something. If you catch, and I'm not saying this, I'm just being as realistic as possible. It's never going to die as a medium. I don't think it ever will. Actually, I don't think the ebook will replace it. I don't think audiobooks will ever quite replace the book. But in terms of getting our message out, video is it.
So we have to start making video books. Maybe
I'm not
cartoons.
against that. You said you might have been joking. I don't know, but I totally agree.
I'm not against it either. And as a matter of fact, we are doing 2 audiobooks per month. This month we are releasing Archifuturism and Why We Fight as audiobooks. And I agree with you. What? Who's
reading the books?
We actually have a. It's not any famous people or anything, but basically we have a contract with a company that specializes in recording audiobooks, and the people doing the narration are true professionals with the proper experience in narration of audiobooks, and they're highly efficient, quite affordable. It's kind of an experiment, but it's also obviously a growing market, judging from the sales. Right. So, but I agree with you that the books are, the book market is going down, and books are not for everyone, and we need to focus on more accessible media formats. I totally agree there. But as you said, the book is not going anywhere. I think books will always be important to influence at least a smaller elite of people who can then disseminate the ideas.
Exactly.
And so forth. So, yeah. That's pretty much all I have to say.
Yeah, Richard, you mentioned a future cooperation with Edward Dutton, and I was wondering if you believe that the academic world and science is a fruitful way for us to spread our politics, since more or less everything we stand for can be grounded in science.
I don't agree with that at all. I don't think everything we stand for can be grounded in science. I think there is a large degree to which science can reinforce and confirm instincts and feelings like family and nation and human nature and so on. But no, I don't think our movement should be a science-based movement. I'll introduce Ed when we're ready. But yeah, we'll be working together, and Ed has his great strengths as well, and he's just a generally fun character to boot. But
a great author recently published ethnocentrism
with Arctos, correct? Yeah, and so I think that people who come from, say, the background of Ed Dutton or Richard Lynn, et cetera, I think they do have a lot to offer us, and we should definitely listen to them. But I don't think that's the end all and be all at all. And I think actually the movement got into a lot of, well, it didn't get into a lot of trouble, but it stagnated when it tried to substitute, say, science for politics. And, you know, this is race realism in a way, in a nutshell. It does not, at some level, does not matter if these things are true. That, you know, IQ differences, behavioral differences between the races and sexes, etc. It does not matter. The morality of the time, these dominant taboos and concepts of good and evil and high and low are going to predominate over mere facts. Feelings do not care about your facts. Moralism does not care about your facts. And moralists will always find facts that fit. And so, yeah, also political power doesn't care about facts. Political power can crush facts with a bulldozer.
And the masses ultimately don't care about facts either. They care about authority and power.
Do you think you're, Richard, do you think you're, considering what's happened to you, do you think your perspective has changed from before, where you thought maybe you could convince people, and now that you've experienced this anarcho-tyranny, you sort of shifted perspective? Has this anything to do with it?
Yes and no. I mean, I said many of the same things that I'm saying now, say 5 years ago, and so on. I was counter-signaling conservatives for my entire career. But I think that there was this crazy moment where in mid 2016, basically up through mid 2017 and a little bit longer, where I felt that a kind of miracle was occurring, that we were cracking this nut, and that we could be radically mainstream, as a term that I use, which I still think is a great term, and that is that we don't cuck on anything. We obviously present ourselves in a nice package, but we certainly don't cuck on anything, and that we can become a part of the conversation, and in a way via Trump being a vehicle for this. And that was happening to an interesting degree. I mean, the level at which I could just go on these news programs, I would sometimes just go on these local news programs, radio shows, and they would let me speak, or even going on NPR, getting quotes in the New York Times. I did feel like we were cracking that nut, but at the end of the day, our enemies are intelligent, and they kind of recognized what we were doing. And I think they wanted to present us once, and then everyone would freak out, and you know, we would go running away. And for many people that works, but it obviously did not work for me and a few others. And so their tendency now is, if they talk about us, it is to smear us, and they're going back to the ignoring us, which was the policy of conservatives for forever, and still basically is. Conservatives never recognized that something like the alt-right writ large existed, because it's in the best interest of conservatives to present themselves as the only real opposition. It's Ben Shapiro or bust, folks. You've got to support these. They might not be perfect, but oh gosh, you know, if we didn't have Ben Shapiro, we just have full-blown communism. You know, your kids would be in jail, and they'd murder the family pet. Those darn lefties. This is the trick that conservatives always tell you. And I have always said that the opposite is the case. The left is always going to be there. The left is not, we're not going to defeat the left. The left is there. It's entrenched. It actually appeals to certain kind of post-Christian moralisms, you know, within our race. It's not going anywhere. The question is, who will oppose it? And the answer to that question is us. And therefore, the most immediate enemy are conservatives. We have to viciously attack conservatives. We have to always resist them, because they will constantly be the ones putting themselves in our stead and saying that they're the real opposition. And so we need to really change that dynamic. And just on that subject, I mentioned this on JF's program, and I think it's worth reiterating here. There is this interesting phenomenon that we had going there for a little while, where the alt-right was, and by that I mean, the collection of people, Jordan Peterson, Lauren Southern, these Faith Goldie, these types. Milo actually being the best example. It's funny that I forgot Milo. And even Jack Posobiec, who's a complete idiot, but he's kind of in there. None of these people are that smart, to be honest, including Jordan Peterson. But in a weird way, Milo might have been the one with the most talent. But anyway,
I think his motto was "Fags don't care about your feelings."
Fags.
That's the most powerful message, apparently.
Yeah. But we basically we were influencing them, and in some degree they were trying to steal our thunder. They were, there was the same dynamic as with conservatives, but we were influencing them. And I thought there was actually a really good dynamic at play. And that's a dynamic that I never had with the conservative movement. When I was publishing articles at Radix or doing a podcast or having a conference, the conservative movement would simply ignore us. They would not do anything. And they wouldn't even attack us. There were occasional attacks. I remember Jordan Bloom, one of these Catholic traditionalists who would attack us in the Daily Caller. He's still, I could go into, it's an interesting story about him actually with Katie McHugh. But anyway, so we had a new dynamic where we were influencing the alt-right. Now that dynamic is gone. And I'm not happy about this. I wish we had it, but I would say that the alt-right now, they're kind of off on their own kind of grift island, doing their own thing. They're not really being energized, and they themselves are becoming less relevant and by the day, and they themselves are being attacked as if they were us.
They are facing the same problems as we are, and therefore maybe we should cut them some slack and find some common ground and fight this.
I tried. I look.
Leftist deep campaign together.
I always get attacked. It's like Mr. Alt-right, who the alt-right kids hate. I remember in the fall of 2016, it was de rigueur to you must attack Milo, and oh wow, the golden one has joined us.
Wow,
how are you doing, man? And so it was de rigueur to attack Milo. I thought that was not a good strategy. I thought that he was still basically serving our ends. Now, once the revelations about Milo came out, there was no point in even pretending to like him anymore. But yeah, I mean, I have always tried to create that alt-right dynamic, but it's my generosity has been rewarded with attacks by them. So I don't know. There are a couple of people who haven't. Lauren Southern's never attacked me. And a couple people, a couple others have basically, not endorsed anything we do or anything like that, but basically kept it cool, maybe even had a discussion. And Lauren Southern's one, maybe the single one I could name. So I think there is some potential there, but at least at the moment, we're kind of back where we were before. I think we're on our own.
Well, to be honest, there was a rumor that you were dating, but
Lauren Southern?
Yeah.
No, I never did.
Okay. Anyways, Richard, we will have to let you go. Actually,
one final question, just one final question, before you go. Who will you be voting for in 2020? Young, Bernie, Trump, Tulsi Gabbard, or
Tulsi.
Joe Biden?
I guess Tulsi.
Joe Biden.
I guess
Joe
Tulsi.
Biden is simply too racist for me to vote for. I mean that. I say that as a joke, but it's in a way true. Basically, Joe Biden is just as bad as Trump in terms of his just racist comments and obliviousness to politically correct norms. And actually, unlike Trump, who was off doing reality shows and dating Playboy models or whatever, Joe Biden was actually enacting racist policies, like many of these one strike and you're out crime bills and lock them up kind of things. So if the alt-right, I mean, and I obviously mean this ironically, but if the kind of pragmatists on the alt-right, if they really want to fash the nation or something, they should just literally go, vote for Joe Biden. If they want a racist boomer who is, can win, then Joe Biden's their man. He's more racist than Trump. So no, I would never in a million years vote for Joe Biden. I would probably vote for Satan over Joe Biden, as at least that would be interesting. But
it's the
I would vote for Tulsi Gabbard.
That's what I guess.
The base black chick from Hawaii.
Well, she's half Indian.
She's not black. Good Daniel, listen. Okay.
Sorry.
I absolutely.
The base brown chick.
Daniel, you let the producer step in here. So, anyways, Richard, thank you so much.
I would vote for Tulsi. Real quick, I would vote for Tulsi Gabbard. Absolutely. I'm not sure about Yang. I mean, I like Yang. I think UBI is an interesting concept, but Tulsi Gabbard is someone I, in a way, respect more because she's challenging real power by going against the foreign policy establishment.
You should do a deep dive on her.
I won't vote for Trump. That's for sure.
Okay, I will debate you over UBI at some point, Richard.
Okay, that's enough.
But not today. Not at this moment. We're running out of time.
All right.
Anyways, so for anyone who wants to view your content, I recommend you go to your channel, NPI Radix, is it?
It's NPI Radix on YouTube, yeah.
Exactly. And watch your live streams, especially the one where I and Daniel were a part of. That's some high quality shit right there. Anyways, Richard, great having you on. I guess, is this the first time you're on our pod? Is it?
I think it is. I'm a long-time listener to the Swedish program.
You're described as
live streams, but first-time caller.
The funny thing is that you're described as the founder of this, podcast.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. So,
well, I'll take credit for it.
Yeah, do that.
That's for sure.
Anyways,
obviously,
we'll put the bookmark in this discussion, and we'll get back to you really soon.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'd love to come on anytime. Talk to you guys soon.
Godspeed.
Take care.